been on the rise. They really need these points, but World Elite, they've been taking some serious wins off of big teams, splitting 1-1 with Snake.
Yeah, 1-1 with EDG.
Exactly, yeah. So might see a stopping block drop down. Masters 3 immediately ban away a Lucas Scion, then take Xie's Twisted Fate. And WE take away Looper's Rise and SMLZ's Callista.
A lot of target bans coming out. Now those Rise Callista, that's pretty stable for purple side because obviously you don't have a priority pick right there. We'll see what gets through and what Masters 3 will choose to prioritize here. Curious.
It is most curious indeed
The
as they
gatekeepers.
get on to the next one. Yeah, WE able to come back and still affect the standings, as right now WE are currently tied in 10th at 10 points. However, that puts them at the very bottom of the bracket as they are tied with the other two teams in 10th. And lastly, it's going to be the victor ban for Xie.
And again, I cannot stress this enough. This is an incredibly important week for Masters 3. Last split, they barely missed out at their shot at playoffs. In fact, they lost their spot to WE.
They're probably a little sour about that.
Their former sister team.
So we can expect a little bit of a grudge match coming out from Masters 3 as they lock in Nautilus, and WE looks like they might answer with a Gragas in the jungle. Now, the last time these two teams played was in week 2, day number 1, when the two split 1-1 between each other.
That said, Masters 3, again, they've most recently been on the rise. I mean, I guess you can probably say the same of World Elite as well, especially because getting a Lucas Scion pretty much creates a massive threat out of him. Very interesting initial rotation here, taking Echo and Gragas. Obviously, this tells you that the Echo will most likely be in the hands of Xie, except they swapped it last second.
It's going to be Conan on Janna, and Spirit going to be taking that Gragas away from Kandi. Rek'Sai is still available for him, but doesn't have to have any necessity priority to secure that and take it away because that jungle position has been filled for WE. Interestingly enough, Hecarim and Sivir still open.
Those are the two hardest reset champions in the game, with both the Monsoon and the Cask. This tells me that WE better pick up a hyper carry in terms of either their mid position or their ADC position. So Sivir gets taken away, no surprises there. I'd love to see an Azir Jinx come out of Mystic and Xie.
Just try to deny Masters 3 of those hyper carries, but there it is. The Rek'Sai Sivir locked in. Kandi,
He'll take Vayne.
Yeah, on the carry. We'll see. I mean, he's played a couple of Vayne games lately.
Oh, a couple.
However, that doesn't mean that's the only thing he's got in his roster.
He's got Caitlyn.
He does indeed. We'll see what he decides to end up going for.
Mystics is just actually a really underrated Jinx player. In fact, I think Jinx actually has one of his highest win rates of any of his champions played. So like I said, he'll probably go Vayne, which he then immediately locks because a lot of AD carries are liking that as kind of a soft counter to Sivir. Now, unlike Spawn and Rusty, I actually really like the Vayne Janna synergy. And I'll explain that as soon as I see what Xie locks in, but it is going to be that Maokai.
Yeah.
Now, what I love about Vayne Janna is obviously the Tailwind Janna's passive is going to mean tons for Vayne because it synergizes very well with her final hour and her initial built-in passive just to, you know, run people down. But the beauty of Vayne Janna is that Vayne is going to itemize into attack speed with the Blade of the Ruined King rush. Sometimes they'll go a Bork rush depending on what they see on the other side as far as assassins or burst damage. But the E, the Eye of the Storm, then empowers Vayne's build so that for that 8 seconds where Vayne is in her final hour, she already itemized attack speed, which works very well with her true damage, but then she gets a free BF sword with the Eye of the Storm, as well as another free BF sword as far as just buffed stats from her ultimate. So she becomes insanely powerful for no reason. I love it.
Very strong combination indeed. Masters 3, on the other hand, are well aware of the strength of that Vayne. They decide to pick up two very powerful champions in their own right. It's Dade on Cassiopeia and LoveCD taking the tried and true Annie.
I really like Dade's Cassiopeia, so he's very unique in his build path. He looks for a second item Rylai's Crystal as well as the Abyssal into the Merc Tread, so a very defensive Cassiopeia. And I actually really like Cassie as an answer to the Vayne, just because Vayne is so short range that if she ever tumbles forward to attempt to dive that back line and try to melt through your tanks, the threat of the petrifying gaze is very immediate and very real.
Yeah, so that is a definite possibility, and with that, we've got our two rosters locked in. A very powerful team comp out of Masters 3, and WE looking like they're running something pretty strong as well. The last lock-in for Xie was that Echo, but here's the top lane, Looper and Aluka on those tanky top lanes.
Should be noted that Looper took away the Nautilus top from Aluka, who's the first guy to debut it. In the jungle, though, Condi got one of his 2 relevant champions.
Yep, he is going to be on that Rek'Sai, whereas Spirit's on the other in Gragas. Here's the Xie Echo into Dade's Cassiopeia, and I actually really like how that's matching up.
Yeah, it's interesting about Echo. He's very punishing of mages or assassins that bring all-in burst damage because he can reset and take all of those cooldowns and those resources. Against high sustain mages, Azir, Cassiopeia, where it's more about putting out consistent damage repeatedly and making use of low cooldowns, it's not as punishing against an Echo. Because, yeah, he can reset all of your big burst damage, he can reset his position, so if she finds the poison and tries to walk him down, but her cooldowns are so short, and it's more about whittling away poke damage as opposed to just, you know, dropping every single one of your cooldowns and trying to delete someone. Yeah. So I actually think it favors Cassiopeia. That said, the most recent nerfs to Cassiopeia, her lane phase suffered, and Echo is actually fairly strong levels 1 through 4.
Well, we'll have to see how that works out as we load into the Rift. And we have made it onto the Rift. It's World Elite versus Masters 3. It's actually Masters 3 in the red and WE in the... Wait, I got that completely mixed up.
No, it's WE in the red, Masters 3 in the blue.
Yeah, that's what I was going for. I was trying to correct it, but then I confused myself. And now...
Just flip Masters 3 upside down.
Exactly. Just hold a mirror for the top half of your screen and watch it through the mirror.
There we go.
And that's going to end up solving it out. A little bit of harass, finds Love CD. And he's just going to get a nice deep ward. I believe that ward was actually cleared.
It's fairly important. We've kind of seen not the complete decline of the lane swap wards or the invade, but getting a ward over in the Gromp. Hold on, though.
Dade gets caught out here, takes some serious damage from Xie, but makes it back onto the tier 1 in time.
Really unfortunate because the minions are just now spawning, which means he'll be fairly late to lane. We'll see how much CS he loses and if Xie is able to punish that EXP discrepancy at all.
Yeah, WE looking very confident in that early game. He is going to, I can't actually tell if he picked up any more health potions or anything, but
biscuits.
Yeah, Masters 3 starting off on that bottom side of the map. Looks like WE not going to lane swap it either, as Aluka heads through a few wards to head to the top side on his own. And we're going to see the wet noodle fight between those tanks while the AD carries duel it out on the bottom.
Now, the thing about Sivir into Vayne is that her spell shield really doesn't mean much for her in this lane as it does against other AD carries like Ezreal, Corki, things like that, because obviously you can absorb a lot of their damage. Likewise, Vayne's mobility on her passive as well as the assistance of Janna's Tailwind will help chase Sivir down, so to kind of counteract Sivir's own passive going for her. That said, when you lane against Sivir, you don't actually lane against Sivir. You kind of lane against the enemy team's creeps because Sivir just shoves you in.
Yeah. Something we've seen a lot in the LPL considering Sivir's popularity, and SMLZ on Sivir is no exception to that. As we can see, he's shoving forward. However, level 2 is first picked up by WE. Bit of trading going on in the mid. Burns through Dade's health pots as Xie getting the better of the trade for now, but Dade again scales exceptionally well, and well, he's Dade.
Well, both champions will scale exceptionally well. I really do like Dade's build on Cassiopeia. We'll see if he goes with it this game. But again, he looks for Rylai second, a much more tanky build, even itemizes the Merc Treads with the Abyssal to help against a lot of the CC. But hold on, Condi in the mid lane.
Condi looks for a gank, might be finding Xie here. There goes the parallel convergence, catches Condi mid-breakdance.
As well as gives him the shield to make sure that he can absorb a lot of that damage from Dade's Twin Fang. So excellent response to Condi's gank.
Yeah, Xie not panicking, not having to burn the flash, still relatively safe in that mid lane, especially with Spirit waiting in the wings, though Spirit is only level 2 to the level 3 of Condi. A little bit faster clear for Rek'Sai, gets him into the ganking lane first, but there goes the Crystalline Flask and health potions, bringing Xie right back up to full health. Oh, flash used by SMLZ, did not want to be caught by that tornado. Mystic takes some damage, and Love CD does the same.
Wow, so, I mean, obviously to flash. Oh, he doesn't have his, I see. He went Ricochet into Boomerang.
A lot of damage coming out from Mystic right now as he's trying to bully SMLZ back, and we might be seeing the beginning of a discrepancy down there. Here goes Xie once again trading with Dade. The 1-2-3 triple tap of Echo, punishing Dade and forcing him to burn through mana to try to setting up a slow, while the top laners continue duking it out in the top lane.
This is really going to be about how quickly Dade can itemize into his tier and get that stacking on top of Cassiopeia's already passive stacks, and what that will grant her in terms of abilities or augments to her power. That's not the easiest way to say that. She gets stronger over time.
Yeah.
She poison enemy champions, gives her stacks. Works well when she stacks her tier.
Her passive?
Her passive.
Yeah, we'll see how Dade continues to scale if he is able to make it to that late game, because as I'm starting to tell from looking at WE, they've got a lot of ways to get into the back line onto an immobile Cassiopeia.
It's very dangerous to do that, though. I mean, that's what Cassiopeia's kit is set up for with the Petrifying Gaze. If you decide to use that more defensively, Dade trying to not be tapped by the back half of that Q.
He's got to be really careful. While Xie may be low on mana, he's very close to level 6. They look to collapse onto Kandi, and he gets knocked into the wall, taking so much damage. WE get first blood onto Conan.
Don't quite know what Kandi was thinking, but a beautiful condemn from Mystic, and that's kind of what I was curious about. Kandi put himself right in position to eat that stun, and beautifully, WE passed the kill to Vayne. Excuse me, no they didn't. They gave it to Janna.
They gave it to Conan.
Wow, I tried really hard to give it to him.
The support carry for WE. Yeah, Conan was able to pick that up with the auto attack and
this
his Ignite.
barbarian.
And he's got a blue buff now.
Oh, that's worth.
Yeah. I heard you like sustain and harass in lane, so we'll just continue giving it to you for the duration of that buff.
The blue buff, Janna, Conan.
So now things looking pretty solid for WE. We're starting to see a discrepancy opening up in the mid and bottom lane. Again, that first blood going on to Conan means he can get some early Sightstone, get deep wards available. Whereas Xie in the mid goes for a Fiendish Codex first. And all in all, it's already 1,000 gold bleed for WE, despite the fact that it's only a single kill that they have.
We'll see if Conan decides to team up with Spirit here, because he does have that Sightstone. You see that he's heading to the side of Gragas. He wants to go and ward with his jungler, not just by himself. Make sure he's not caught out, especially as they invade here on top of Kandi.
Yeah, Kandi actually has found them. Dade not going to respond just yet as he's afraid of taking punishment. Again, they find Kandi. He's relatively low health without any early tanky stats. Spirit might catch him out here. Xie diving under the turret. He does have the chrono break to get out there. Blows it,
beautiful.
Gets out safely. The dive is huge. Dade looks like he might be punishing Conan, though. Has to back away.
You have to expect this, though. You knew that the Janna got the first blood, and like you said, wisely itemizes into the Sightstone with that extra gold to empower her team, not just her lane. And on initial back, supports will always roam and set down their deep wards. Kandi had to expect that he was going to be invaded.
Things not looking too great for Masters 3 after that, though Masters 3 do respond appropriately. SMLZ gets a lot of pressure onto this Tier 1 turret, and Mystic, he's taken some harass, but is able to trade it right back with his early Bilgewater, and he's having a really tough time clearing the waves. Man, just barely has enough AD to do so.
I mean, that said, Vayne is perfectly even, in fact, one creep ahead of Sever, and that's typically not where you want your Vayne. Her lane phase suffers. It's all about that Vayne late game.
Oh, Mystic turns now onto Love CD, doesn't get the third auto, and Love CD is forced to flash out of there as Conan joining the fight immediately forces the disengage from Masters 3.
Should be noted that Conan also burned his flash. He was trying to get the slow right there, so great response from Love CD to create space, but that is support flash for support flash.
Spirit waiting in the wings. He just used his sweeper. He knows he's not spotted out. There's no flash for either of them. He gets onto Love CD. There's the tornado. Final hour just picked up by Mystic. Nets him a kill.
And they know that that's their target.
Oh, Xie trading once again with Dade. Half-healths him with a single Chrono Spear from that parallel convergence. And all in all, WE are looking very strong.
And again, just kind of touching back to the bottom lane, they chose Annie knowing that that flash wasn't available, so immediately punishing that decision.
Yeah, Love CD getting shut down now. Kandi does have some defensive wards as he finally gets a pink on his own side as he looks to roam towards the bottom. However, he's spotted out in the tri-brush by a ward from Conan. They're already prepared, and despite the unique gank paths that Rek'Sai brings, they're not going to be too effective if the enemy team already knows you're there.
Kandi's much more interested in just making sure that the dragon wasn't going down in response to Love CD being picked off on his Annie. So just getting to that back of the pit. The nice thing about Rek'Sai is even without vision, due to her trimmer sense, that you can quickly check if anyone is making any sort of shenanigans.
So now it's 1,500 gold in favor of WE. You've got a winning Vayne in the bottom, 1-0-1 with the early Bilgewater. In the mid lane, Xie putting pressure onto Dade, trying to shut him down as he's only got a tier. Oh, might bait him onto the Chrono Break. Oh, just barely misses it, but Dade clever enough to dodge that damage.
Xie is playing this Echo beautifully in the mid lane right now. And that said, we talked about how early on, or even in the middle of this current split, Masters 3 were never really known for their lane phase. In fact, it was kind of, if we can just get them out of lane phase into the mid game, into the 5v5, that's when they start to excel with champions like Looper, like Dade, players like Looper and Dade kind of taking over with their insane mechanical ceiling. But you have to get there first.
Yeah, we'll have to see if Masters 3 can make it to that point, as right now WE with some aggressive deep wards on that bottom side of the jungle. Look to spot it out. It seems like Spirit is actually going to be soloing the dragon right now, and unfortunately, Masters 3 are none the wiser.
It's okay, we got a beautiful demonstration of where all of the vision is on this map, so we know that Spirit is making do undetected.
Yeah, so Spirit isn't going to be spotted. The dragon slowly getting whittled down. Conan actually roams on up to help him out. And first dragon taken by WE. So they're 1,400 gold ahead right now. They've got that first dragon. Lanes even in the top, but ahead in all of the others. Things are looking good for WE.
Yeah, and this is exactly where you want to be. Again, you know, Vayne not typically known for her level 1 through 5 in concerns to her lane phase. Obviously, when she gets that ultimate available, the power dynamic shifts slightly.
So I guess, how does this fit into the grand scheme of WE as a team? You know, they're at the bottom of the standings right now, but they're continuing to split series with teams who are at the top. Teams like EDG, like Snake, and now they might be able to take a win off of Masters 3 when they need it most.
Unfortunately, they've kind of buried themselves in a hole for the beginning of the split, that if they continue to just take these draws as opposed to consistently finding these 2-0s, they're not going to move much in the standings. Yes, the standings are much closer than they've ever been in the LPL, but the system rewards first and most consistency. And WE... hold on. Sorry, was looking at Dade, but WE just haven't proven that they can be a consistent team. That said, on the other side, Masters 3, this is effectively their super week where they get to disprove that they're an inconsistent team and finally step up to the plate.
Well, that's the big question then. Masters 3, they're down right now, and they are in their weakest part of the game. Can they transition out of it successfully? So far, it seems like they might have a bit of difficulty. They do take that first turret of the game with the superior wave control from Sivir, but Xie is making up more than enough pressure to make up for it. Chrono Break right on top of Dade, even drops the Ignite, takes a stun to the face, but here's the rest of WE. The Cask finds Dade. He doesn't have his flash, but still has Cleanse. There's a lot of damage coming across. Xie with another kill.
Trying to trade 1-for-1, was not expecting Conan and Spirit to be there as well, but a beautiful Petrifying Gaze is not rewarded as Spirit and Conan find a nice flank on Dade.
Yeah, WE looking very strong with this one as they're 4-0 right now. Spirit been involved in all of those teams' kills. He's been all over the map and back. I mean, this guy, for such a big guy, he's got some good cardio.
And Spirit really just proving, you know, how vital he is to this team and, you know, solidifying himself as I am a top-tier jungler in the LPL. I mean, when WE make these splits with these top-tier teams, especially from the bottom of the standings, majority of the time it is on the back of Spirit's performance. You cannot give him high mobility champions like Nidalee, like Rek'Sai, like Gragas, and not expect it to be punished by creative pathing and beautiful micromanagement of the jungle.
Yeah, he has been all over the map, and now we're at 13 minutes into the game, starting to see WE hit some pretty scary breakpoints. Now the second Sightstone has been picked up for Spirit, so that's going to allow he and Conan to place wards on wards deep in Masters 3 jungle, while Mystic completed the Blade of the Ruined King, and Xie finishing off his Abyssal.
That's what's important. It is the Blade of the Ruined King, because this opens up the split push potential and the dual threat of Vayne. There's not a lot of options, especially because he is so far ahead with the one kill as well as the one assist, to stop him unless you bring more than one resource.
So far, Masters 3 have not been able to do any serious damage to Mystic. And his Vayne performance has been steadily improving over the past few sets. He is setting up a freeze far in the back over here, trying to prevent SMLZ from catching any CS or perhaps possibly baiting Masters 3. Down to that bottom side, Xie continues to trade effectively with Dade with that solo kill and another kill under his belt. But there aren't any major objectives for World Elite to take. They're content to continue looking for ganks, looking for these picks while they continue to farm it out.
I'm glad that you underlined that it's about looking for the ganks on the lanes in particular. There haven't been any instances other than that first initial catch on Condi when Conan and Spirit went to invade after getting the first blood and having the Sightstone. Everything else has been dominated, ganking the lanes. And that sounds, you know, obvious, like how else would you gank anything? But if you think about EDG, if you think about Xiaogu, if you think about Invictus Gaming, LGD, those top tier teams, where do they find their big snowball? And what is the difference between the top tier LPL teams and the bottom tier? They find it in the jungle. They're proactive that they win their lanes off the CS and using pressure points, and then they invade the jungle and they set down deep wards and they capitalize on that. Dade get ganked. Speaking
of ganks, Dade is caught out here. Teleport coming in. Stun is able to find Spirit, but Xie finishes it off in time. Teleport canceled by Looper. And Aluka actually had to use his as well just to be safe, but doesn't find it.
And then WE, they gank the lanes, and they continue to snowball the lanes ahead. But this is where they start to fall short against the elite of the LPL teams in finding their consistency, is that they can't translate this into being proactive about their vision on top of objectives. It's just about snowballing their lane. So it's very much a win lane, win game team, and they find majority of their success when they take multiple damage threats and multiple carry options across their team.
Spirit looks like he's caught out here. SMLZ goes down to Xie's burst with some enormous damage, and Xie single-handedly chasing away two members, turns now onto Love CD, tries to trade it back now that the blue has spawned. Here comes Looper from the side, but he's distracted by Aluka. Conan joins the battle, but Xie so strong. He chrono breaks right back on top of Condi, who's forced to flash out of this one. Looper way overextended, gets knocked out by the Monsoon, and is going to be forced to back away here as WE look to steal the blue buff. Don't know if they're going to be successful. The barrel might get it. Oh, not quite.
So they attempt. Again, they do what the other LPL teams do, and you know, we're strong, we're ahead right now, we need to force the enemy team to fight us, so what do? We try to contest either the blue or the red buff as an arena. Doesn't quite stick for them, but I like the fact that they're experimenting with it, and they're starting to take proactive steps on continuing to snowball their lead.
In the meanwhile, Mystic was split pushing on the bottom side of the map and got that wave shoved all the way to the tier 2. Dragon did just respawn. Masters 3 can see that on their minimap even if they didn't have the exact timer. That's why we see Condi on this side of the map, though Mystic isn't going to get an opportunity to recall. Here come the rest of WE to try contesting it. The stun finds Mystic. He's got out of position here. Condemn finds Condi. Blade of the Ruin King keeps him up. The knockup still finds the stun. Here comes a shield. Eye of the Storm. Suddenly he tumbles in aggressively. They catch Condi out of position, and Condi goes down.
And that's just really the goal discrepancy between these teams and how far Mystic is speaking for itself.
Xie looks and finds Dade. So much burst.
Oh, so unfortunate. Didn't have the Petrifying Gaze available to him. And Xie, a nice chase. I feel like Echo, he's not actually... I don't consider him very good at roaming. He does have his E, so he has some tools to get around the map. He's not particularly quick to a lot of, you know, high mobility champions. But the difference is if he ever has you in range of one of his abilities, he's incredibly sticky, and it's very hard to peel him away from you.
That's what we're seeing with Dade, who currently is 0-3 right now. WE came into this game with a clear battle plan. Win lane, win game. You said it earlier, and it seems like this is the fact of the game right now. They're up 4,500 gold, going on 5. They've got a late game hyper carry Vayne as insurance, but they might not even need it, as it looks like Masters 3 are starting to crumble under this pressure, though they are setting up some pressure on the top side of the map.
That said, M3, they excel when they're grouped up as 5, and again, on the back of Condi, Looper, and Dade. Most recently as well, SMLZ on his fantastic Corki performance. Whereas WE, if they don't get an insurmountable lead in their lane phase that then translates into a surplus of gold in the team fight, they tend to crumble. They have their lead now, so let's see if this is enough to put them over the top.
Yeah, seems like they did have a bit of trouble making it to the top in time. That top tier 1 did go down as Masters 3 sent 4 members to secure it. It's a minute and a half before that. Baron's up, and Mystic looks like he's going to head up to the top side of the map to help out the rest of his team. Looper spotted on a ward as he's recalling. Xie's up there as well. Now, there's no reason for WE to be on the bottom side of the map anymore.
And
so where do they go?
And the most accessible tower for them to take down is going to be the last standing outer tower, which is that top one, which you're absolutely right. There's no dragon. That's why you see them all grouped up there. But they're trying to see if they can get a cheeky dive, because they don't just want the tower. They want as many kills as possible on top of the tower. A counter push mid could be feasible. That's definitely the most important tower for Masters 3 left on the map, but I don't think they have enough pressure points, especially as Xie is rotating down to kind of cover that. Yeah, because that was the only like counter play option that Masters 3 had available.
Yeah, WE setting up a dive. Righteous Glory managing to find Looper. He's going to be shredded to little bits. Drops the depth charge, but Mystic should be getting the kill here. Nope, Luca snags it at the last second.
There was no reason for Looper to be there. He already understood what was happening. He backed off the tower initially, so just some miscommunication coming from Masters 3.
I had an amazing mental image of a guy with a little wispy mustache.
Misters 3?
Misters 3. Sounds like a James Bond villain. Ah, yes, Mr. Bond.
I just always think cool cat, big pet.
A cap?
Cat.
Oh, a cat.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
You're evil when you sit back.
Stroking a hairless cat.
Exactly. So they've got the top tier tower. The next most important objective on the map is either going to be the Baron for them or that second tier mid tower. So what they're doing right now is they're setting up for a bait, and they want someone to face check into him. That said, Kandi has Rek'Sai, and Rek'Sai is incredible at not having vision and knowing where you are.
LPL forced to flash defensively away from Spirit, who belly slams forward, and with the threat of the cask, scares away Masters 3. And as you mentioned, they are indeed looking for that fight. They've got some very scary items under their belt. Along with those first two dragons, they can take some pretty quick objectives.
They're deciding to just reset their pressure, spend all of the gold that they've just gotten off of their global tower, and try to get back in position to save their mid tower. Xie doing a nice job seeing that WE are out of position. They've all backed, so I can immediately walk in and steal this. Never mind, he's on WE.
That's his own blue buff.
I've tried.
That he gets. Looks like there is a Talisman of Ascension burn, but not quite able to find the engage that they wanted. Spirit continuing to press forward with Aluga. He's still got Righteous Glory. And Masters 3 aren't falling for it. They have not been caught in any of these fights. They haven't been caught out of position just yet. And all in all, they're still hanging on. They're
struggling a bit with their wave management, though. They have a nice big push going for them bottom, which someone will have to respond to. That said, WE have actually just stepped onto the Baron.
They have indeed, and they're going to shred through it so fast with the percent damage from Echo and Vayne. Masters 3, as you mentioned, they have no idea. Baron secured 21 minutes and 45 seconds in.
And because they had failed their pressure in the mid and the top side, they didn't have the freedom to walk over to that Baron pit to place down vision. So WE had full control over the mid and top lane, which means that they had full control over that side of the jungle, which is why they just got a free Baron.
Yeah, and with that, Masters 3 should see the next few minions and be like, oh no, that's unfortunate. Though we have to wonder, what are WE going to do with this? We talked a little bit about how they have trouble taking objectives unless they have an insurmountable lead, and it doesn't really look like a great siege composition out of WE.
Naturally, that's kind of one of the drawbacks from Vayne. She's great in the dueling potential. That said, Mystic is very far ahead. He's got a ton of global gold from all of the structures that they've taken, as well as the bonus dragons and now the Baron on top of it. This isn't a death sentence for Masters 3. It's going to be very difficult to break the inhibitor unless Masters 3 make a critical mistake off this initial Baron, but it is going to be the next 4 minutes of control for WE. It's now about how far can they pressure this lead while they wait, or while Dade is still in his I'm not going to call it a super weak phase, but because he has the Archangel stacked.
His Chrysalis.
Yeah.
Before he has fully matured like a beautiful
Before he gets
butterfly.
the crazy Cassiopeia passive stacks, because he's already got the stack tier.
Parallel Convergence finds 3, but WE do not commit to the dive and instead focus on the turret. They take down that tier 2. And with Aluka in the mid lane, it looks like they might be taking another one, and Masters 3 are just falling behind. I would say inch by inch, but it's more like mile by mile as WE have got this game in the palm of their hand.
Xie doing a fantastic job zoning from Fog of War, threatening with the Parallel Convergence at any moment, which is forcing Masters 3 to just succumb this mid-tier tower.
Yeah, just like that, 2 tier 2 turrets go down. Dragon has respawned, and they don't have a wave on the other side of the map. So the question is, what do WE take next? Looks like they take a fight. Flash gets Dade out alive. Suddenly, seems like Spirit's in a bad position here. Aluka gets onto the backside. He's followed by Shie. Love CD is going low, but Shie is actually super low. He's forced to chrono break out of there. He was locked down for so long, he didn't even move. Aluka 1v4 right now, brings low one as Mystic finally turns off the turret and onto the carries, and WE are cleaning this up. They trade 1 kill over by killing Spirit, but they've lost 2 members of their own. They might just lose a third, but no, instead it's the inhibitor.
We talked about how it was going to be difficult for World Elite to break the inhibitor without Masters 3 making a huge mistake, and that was the mistake. A beautiful initial engagement from Spirit on his Gragas sets Masters 3 up for disaster as they just run through their team with Mystic.
Yeah, and that was the first death for WE. Spirit is the first one to go down. Was that oh, that was indeed a flash. Ultimate's being used because it's a surrender vote out of Masters 3, and WE take game number 1.
Masters 3, their dream weekend is slowly unwinding. First, they're split against King, and now losing the initial game with WE. We talked about if WE continued to make these draws against top teams, against bottom teams, they're not going to move anywhere in the standings. If they play like that, this game, they're looking at a 2-0.
Yeah,
easy.
We'll have to see if they're able to do it in the next game. As you can see right now, Spirit grinning ear to ear after that. I
totally
mean,
deserved.
I
Beautiful
would be
performance.
Too. To be fair, he was his team's only death.
Report
Kind of a blemish. Yeah.
for feeding. Did he have 100% kill participation?
He did not. He did have the highest on his team.
Report that guy.
I think he had something like 9 out of 11 by the end.
No.
It was pretty impressive. But I mean, Spirit was all over the map. Early game, he was affecting all of those ganks. He was getting Shie ahead. He was getting Mystic ahead. Didn't once go top to deal with Aluka, but it didn't even matter by the end of the game.
Stylistically, WE almost seemed like the perfect counter to Masters 3, just because, again, Masters 3, their lane phase is so fragile, because they really rely on grouping up and making the most out of Condi, Looper, and Dade, that trifecta there.
Yeah.
And since WE are all about their lane phase and getting their assassin play ahead, particularly, I'm going to call Mystic an assassin as well,
yeah.
on the Vayne as well as the Echo, it's almost perfectly crafted that if someone was going to be able to take down Masters 3 just as quickly and decisively as possible, that it would be a team whose motto is win lane, win game.
Yeah, and that is going to be game number 1. Going over to WE, we'll take a quick break. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.